Picture this. Every year, Africa loses around $50 billion to illicit financial flows. Most of it, pure corruption. That's not just numbers, it's schools unbuilt, hospitals without medicine, and roads that barely exist. This isn't just about shady politicians, it's about the systematic theft of a continent's future. Today we're diving into the stories of Africa's most notorious leaders, masters of creative accounting with national treasuries. We'll unpack their schemes, the audacity behind them, and the devastating impact on millions of lives. So grab your popcorn because this is the real story behind Africa's billion-dollar heist. General Sani Abacha, Nigeria's military dictator, was a legend in looting. In 5 years he siphoned off billions. $1 billion a year gone through fake contracts, inflated invoices, and direct transfers from the central bank. The treasury was his personal ATM. Abacha and his cronies lived large while ordinary Nigerians faced crumbling infrastructure, failing hospitals, and an economy on life support. A country rich in resources, its people left struggling. Abacha's corruption poisoned the system, eroding trust and scaring off investors. Even after his death, the hunt for his hidden billions continues in Swiss accounts, UK banks, and offshore havens. Every recovered million is a reminder of what was lost. Abacha's story is a warning. Unchecked power and greed can cripple a nation. The fight to recover his loot is ongoing, but the real challenge is preventing the next Abacha. His legacy is a stark lesson in the cost of corruption. Nigeria is still fighting to reclaim what was stolen and rebuild trust. The hope now lies in learning from the past and demanding real accountability, because the true wealth of a nation should benefit its people. Now to the Democratic Republic of Congo, once Zaire, ruled for 32 years by Mobutu Sese Seko, the self-styled Leopard of Zaire. Mobutu didn't just lead, he looted, amassing up to $15 billion while his people sank into poverty. Zaire's vast resources, diamonds, cobalt, copper, became Mobutu's personal piggy bank. Mining deals, export revenues, foreign aid, everything funneled to Mobutu and his cronies. The result? Palaces in the jungle, private jets, and shopping sprees in Paris, while hospitals and schools collapsed. Mobutu's regime was a masterclass in patronage. Government jobs became tickets to enrichment, fueling a pyramid of corruption. The country's infrastructure decayed so badly, flying was often easier than driving. Despite its riches, Zaire's people became some of the world's poorest. The West turned a blind eye for decades, seeing Mobutu as a Cold War ally. Foreign aid meant for development often ended up in European bank accounts. Mobutu's leopard skin hat and authenticity campaign were all for show. Behind the scenes, the nation was being gutted. When he was finally ousted, he left behind a broken country, its institutions hollowed out by decades of theft. The legacy? Instability, conflict, and a system where corruption became the norm. Recovering Mobutu's stolen billions has proven nearly impossible, hidden in offshore accounts and shell companies. The damage lingers, a financial cancer that outlasted the dictator himself. Mobutu's story is a warning. Resource wealth without accountability is a recipe for disaster. The DRC's struggle today is rooted in the scars of his kleptocracy. His flamboyance wasn't just greed, it was a public display of contempt for his people. The world's failure to act sooner made recovery even harder. Mobutu's era shows how one man's greed can cripple a nation for generations. The lesson? Preventing grand corruption is far easier than cleaning up after it. The DRC's journey to recovery is long, but understanding this history is the first step. Mobutu's reign is a cautionary tale for any nation blessed with resources. Without strong institutions, those blessings can become a curse, and the cost is paid by the people, not the palace. Next, Sudan ruled for 30 years by Omar al-Bashir, a president turned indicted war criminal. While the world focused on his brutal conflicts, Bashir quietly built a shadow economy of corruption. Oil revenues, gold profits, even foreign aid all diverted to prop up his regime and reward loyalists. The real budget, hidden, untraceable, and controlled by a select few. Sudan's oil wealth, instead of lifting the nation, vanished into private pockets. The result: public services crumbled, and ordinary Sudanese suffered. Economic mismanagement and corruption fueled the protests that finally toppled Bashir. When he fell, investigators found suitcases of cash, millions in euros, dollars, and pounds, just the tip of the iceberg. Bashir's corruption wasn't just about wealth, it was about power, controlling resources to buy loyalty and crush dissent. This patronage system made reform nearly impossible, entangling the state in a web of self-interest. Gold mining became the new jackpot, with profits disappearing into the same opaque channels. The international community's focus on war crimes sometimes overshadowed the economic crimes, but they were deeply connected. Corruption fueled conflict, and conflict provided cover for more corruption, a vicious cycle. Even now, Sudan struggles with the legacy of Bashir's rule. Rebuilding trust, recovering assets, and reforming institutions are monumental tasks. The deep state he built resists change at every turn. Removing a dictator is one thing, dismantling his corrupt system is another. Sudan's story is a stark reminder: unchecked power and resource wealth can devastate a nation. The fight for transparency and justice is ongoing. The people's resilience is their greatest hope. Bashir's downfall was just the beginning. Real change means rooting out the system he left behind. Sudan's future depends on it, and the world is watching. Now, Equatorial Guinea, a tiny nation with a giant corruption story, thanks to President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo. In power since 1979, Obiang and his family turned oil wealth into a private fortune. The country's GDP per capita rivals Europe's, but the riches are hoarded by a tiny elite. The Obiang family's lifestyle is legendary: mansions, supercars, private jets, and even Michael Jackson's crystal glove. Meanwhile, most citizens live in poverty, lacking basics like clean water and healthcare. Oil revenue, meant for the nation, is treated as a family business. Investigations reveal state companies channeling funds directly to the Obiangs. Transparency is non-existent. Accountability, a joke. Obiang's son, Teodorin, is the poster child for excess. His assets seized in France, Switzerland, and the US. International efforts to recover stolen wealth are slow, but some victories have forced assets to be used for public good. The regime maintains control through repression and fear. Critics face jail or worse. The disconnect between oil wealth and public poverty is staggering. The government invests little in its people. The money funds luxury instead. When caught, the regime cries neo-colonialism, a classic deflection. The real victims are the people, left behind as their nation's wealth is squandered. Equatorial Guinea is a warning: resource wealth without oversight breeds dynastic kleptocracy. Some assets have been seized, but the scale of the problem is immense. The oil boom should have been a blessing, instead it's a curse. The lesson? Without strong institutions, wealth becomes a tool for corruption. The people deserve better, and the world must keep the pressure on. Equatorial Guinea's story is a call for accountability everywhere. Because when leaders treat a nation's wealth as their own, everyone else pays the price and the world can't look away. Finally, South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, with a strong constitution and vibrant civil society. But even here, corruption struck hard during Jacob Zuma's presidency, giving rise to state capture. This wasn't just bribery. It was the systematic hijacking of state institutions by private interests, especially the Gupta family. Government departments, state companies, even law enforcement were repurposed for profit. The Zondo Commission exposed how billions were siphoned off through rigged contracts and manipulated appointments. State-owned enterprises like Eskom and Transnet were gutted, leading to blackouts and failing services. The rot ran deep. Checks and balances were neutralized, and those involved were shielded from prosecution. Public outrage exploded. Protests, investigative journalism, and court battles demanded accountability. Zuma faced mounting scandals, including taxpayer-funded upgrades to his private home. Under pressure, he resigned, but the damage was done. Investor confidence plummeted, and the economy suffered. State capture became a global term for deep systemic corruption. The fight for justice continues. Some arrests, recommendations for prosecution, but progress is slow. South Africa's experience is a warning. Even strong democracies are vulnerable if corruption isn't confronted, but it's also a story of resilience, citizens, journalists, and institutions fighting back. The battle isn't over, but exposing the truth was a crucial step. State capture shows how quickly trust can be eroded, and how hard it is to rebuild. The lesson? Constant vigilance is needed to protect democracy. South Africa's struggle is a reminder: corruption can take root anywhere. But so can the fight for accountability. The story is still being written. And the world is watching. Because democracy is only as strong as the people who defend it. So that's the whirlwind tour of Africa's most notorious corruption sagas. From Abacha to Mobutu, Bashir, Obiang, and Zuma, the pattern is clear. Leaders entrusted with a nation's future choosing personal gain over public good. But understanding these stories is the first step toward demanding real change. Africa's potential is immense if its wealth serves its people, not just the powerful few. What do you think? Which story shocked you most, or what solutions could make a difference? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned next time. We'll explore the grassroots movements fighting back against corruption across the continent.